Okay, just to expand on this post and kind of talk about where I'm at, especially going into next year. Like the document you're looking at is what students begin the year with it, which is that question: What has your story as a writer been as a student? Which is a really interesting space when you got brand new students for them to think about how they feel, not just about their skills as a writer, but how they see themselves as a writer. It's a great whole class discussion. It helps me know a lot about students by reading these. And we come back to this document not just to complete our reflection as the year goes on, but also to keep circling back to that question because I know we're going to end the year with this question as I share about in this post. I also begin the year with our course vision. And one of the prongs of our vision is this: in this course, students will become more intentional, versatile, and confident writers. And I'm actually going to tweak that a little bit. And I'll explain why at the end of this video going into next year. So we get to the end of the year and like results were good, students felt good, like the vibes were good. But my one last thing is I'm going to open up those documents and see what students said at the bottom of the document, which was going out of this year. How do I see myself as a writer? What have I learned about myself and writing over the course of this journey? And I've got the data, I've got everything else, but I get this one last snapshot. And that's what so inspired me to write this post because these are some things students said. I enjoyed writing again for the first time in a while. It felt like I was writing because I really wanted to write. It really helped me grow as a writer, a thinker, and I would even say as a person. I got to step out of my comfort zone in a welcoming environment. You can have fun with it. You're supposed to have fun with it. It feels like I found part of myself again. It's inspired me to keep pushing forward, not for anyone else, but for me. There's more to writing than just a simple grade. These are things students said in their final reflections. And why I'm so convicted after reading these and many other student reflections and thinking about the course of the year and where we arrived is that I feel like these are four convictions that I'm reminding myself about, not just leaving this year, but also doubling down next year with a bigger vision. And just, I don't think it's enough to say, like, oh, they're going to become more skilled writers or even confident writers. Like, I really feel like we need to add the word meaningful. And here are some things that I think were helpful this year to get to where we got by the end. The first is I think it's important to acknowledge real constraints, but not let them define the vision. Like this is an AP literature course that I'm sharing results from. And yeah, we had to get ready for the AP exam. And that was a box in the sense of there are specific skills and a timed on demand essay that students needed to be successful. We worked on those. I don't think you're serving students if you ignore those constraints, but you got to call them what they are. Like I told them, like, this is a constraint, this is a box. We are going to step outside that box. We're going to break that box down by the end. And we're definitely not going to let it define our vision for who you're going to become as a writer. So I think you got to be real with students. You got to check the boxes and by filling the boxes sometimes, but you also need to make sure you're clear-eyed about your vision and how you communicate to students throughout the course. The second, and this is where I'm at right now, you have to prioritize meaningful feedback. Like the quality of feedback, like yes, that takes skill and time, but that time, including the words you approach and the way you add to it, it's a signal you are sending to students. When you are investing your time in their writing, that sends a signal about how you value it, which I would argue helps them internalize that value. And I'm aware we got way too much on our plate. I'm aware there's a lot of other shortcuts out there, and I understand where those come from. But those shortcuts send a signal too. I would argue, like for me, when I'm choosing where I'm going to take shortcuts, I'm definitely not going to shortcut meaningful feedback on student writing as an English teacher. And I'm also going to make sure that I create space, as I've shared many times over on the Broken Copier, for them to interact with their feedback after I'm done with it, including before they get it individually. When we do our collective feedback lessons, et cetera, if I'm not creating space in class for them to interact with their feedback, I'm not signaling, once again, that it has value. The third thing is that's part and parcel with reflection. Like leaning into reflection is something that is integral for students understanding their journey as a writer. It's not always easy if the results aren't great for them to spend time reflecting, but I would argue those are the times it's most meaningful. It's also important to build a classroom community in which the reflection can be collaborative, or not just with peer workshops on the front end, but also them debriefing on the back end about how they felt. And that leads to the fourth thing that I think is really important in breaking away from just this is the thing I want students writing to look like. Like, yes, there's things we can do ourselves in terms of multiple exemplars, pushing them to different styles and techniques, and letting them read incredible pieces of writing from other authors and writers. But I also think what we do with their writing when we return it to them has a ton of value in terms of setting a culture in the classroom that uplifts writing and honors and celebrates great writing. We have our beautiful language wall from Kelly Gallagher originally that is just a beautiful thing that I know I have pictures of in the post. But we also do gallery walks with student writing, and we throw individual pieces up on slides and talk about them. And we find ways to affirm and celebrate it. Something I was so happy to share with Jennifer Gonzalez at Cult of Pedagogy last summer is those moves are about establishing a culture and a belief around writing where students start to see the value in their own voice as writers, the value in taking risks and trying things out. And I think those are things that are just left on the drawing board in so many of our discussions of writing. I mean, shoot, people are talking about science of writing now. Like, please, like, stop with science of everything. Like, let's talk about the joy of writing. Let's talk about the craft and the conviction and the authenticity and the value of writing before we bring in the word science. And I just am so convicted. You can hear it in my voice. I saw these results, but I also saw what it felt like in the room. I saw students hovering around the beautiful language while looking for their words. I saw them bragging about what they wrote to their peers. And I read those reflections where it's very clear that students, a lot of them, internalized a really important belief about themselves as writers by the end of this course. That can be part of our work. That can be part of our vision. We don't need to put a ceiling on our classroom by saying, oh, they're just going to score proficient or get a passing score on the AP exam, or just remember to capitalize their eyes and, avoid comma splices. Like, we have to have an ambitious vision for our classrooms that includes our vision for what writing can be in our classrooms. That's why I wrote this post. That's why you hear the energy in this, my voice. And I'm going to keep shouting it to the rooftops. We can do more in our classrooms with student writing. And having that vision, that bold, ambitious vision for what writing can be, is the best way to push back on all the people building ceilings and lowering expectations with things that I would argue are not helpful. Our work starts with naming what's possible in the classroom, including with student writing.